these fish are all, they have an adipose or a study group. So fishermen would release this if they caught it thinking it's a wild fish. We get a percentage of them this way so we can see what the mortality is from fishing.
When I first heard that they were shutting down the hatcheries, I assumed that the returning fish would be allowed to spawn naturally. That's not the case. Fish are now entering the killing tub. The lid's placed on, and the current will be applied. It's prepared to stop in the tub. Now bear in mind in this picture, all the fish, or non-separated, the so-called wild and Chinook and the coho, a hatchery, are all put in the electrocution tub together. Is that a purpose for cutting the heads off in order to kill them?
No, they're already dead at this point.
They're sorting through the tub and taking out some fish, and the one they're checking right there now qualifies for a wild salmon. It's been electrocuted, and it's going to be put in the pipe to be sent down the tube to go back to the river to spawn, and landed there there it is in the bottom in the pond. There it is in the bottom of the not the pond, it's actually a part of the river. Fins were clipped. How you guys would tell the difference here today, how you'd know which ones to chop the heads off and which ones to send back to the river.
It's a good thing they're clipped. I gotta go. I'll be back.
Thank you. The last day of October 1999, and I'm up at the Fall Creek Hatchery. There's no one here, and it's my first trip here. I've never been here, don't know a thing about it, but I just found out what stops the fish from coming up the river, up Fall Creek, and it's that thing right there. Below there, you'll notice there's all kinds of salmon in the water. It's full of fish in here, but they can't get up the stream to spawn. This thing is called a weir, I guess, and what I'm seeing is that if they're going to stop the hatchery fish from going by this point, there's no one here to let the non-fin clipped fish by. There's no way they can get by on their own. This is an impassable barricade they've put in here to keep the fish from going upstream.
Chair recognizes Senator Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Were all the fish that were caught potentially?
Yes, Senator Dukes, at that site, at Fall Creek Hatchery, there's a weir, like a small dam, and we passed the wild fish on up above that weir to spawn in the upper portion of Fall Creek, and actually late in the season, some of the late returning hatchery fish pass along with them, so there is a proportion of hatchery fish spawning up there in the habitat along with a fairly high proportion of wild fish, of unmarked fish.
They sit in the weir for some of them for a week?
The unmarked fish are sorted at the weir and passed as they arrive.
Senator Turner.
Let me clarify one thing. You indicated that the fishermen could not catch these fish in the Alsea tributary?
That is correct.
And
you could catch the Chinook run. You could catch Chinook, but the coho, you had to release all coho.
And this included releasing the fin-clipped coho or the hatchery fish?
All fish. All coho fish.
Thank you.
Further questions? Representative Cruz, did you have a question? You seem to be agonizing over there a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I agonize over a lot of this stuff because, you know, I'm kind of a linear person, and so much of this stuff is circular that it really confuses me. And just a comment, you know, the fact that we identify different strains of fish on the chromosomal level has bothered me ever since we started doing that. But from what you were talking about on the film, I almost got the impression that the line of logic they're using is if we eliminate all of the fish, then we eliminate the predation problem.
That's basically, that came out of a meeting last night also, is they feel that by eliminating the hatchery run, it's perpetuating the seals that we have. And in that system, am I right, if I had 400 seals last night, the district biologist said 600 seals in that bay. And they asked him how many wild fish that they could identify that they thought was, and they're not even sure about that because there's like 90 years or 80 or 90 years in that system, so there's cross-inbreeding and whatever else all the way through it. But with the 600 seals they have out there, he said there was only like 108 fish returned. Now that's seals for every fish. And to eliminate 6,000 fish in order to get down to the 108 and say these are what's going to build this runs back, I don't know. I can't. It's not something that I can believe, and certainly they said it wouldn't be in my lifetime. So.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting approach to the pin and ped predation problem, and based on that logic, Mr. Chair, I think I'm going to draft a priority bill to limit rainfall in Oregon so we don't have to deal with floods anymore.
Are we restricted by national marine fisheries? That's why the sports fishermen aren't allowed to take them, or is that a state agency decision?
The ocean closures, sport and commercial, were dictated by the National Marine Fisheries Service. The in-river restrictions were ones we developed hoping to gain National Marine Fisheries Service approval that they wouldn't essentially take over the operation of the facilities and dictate facility closures. And in that regard, so far, we've been successful.
Some of us have been fighting for years to try to keep coastal hatcheries open. If I understood your answer to Senator Tarnow correctly, you said we're trying to protect the wild fish. And what you were trying to protect them from, in response to his question, was from interaction with hatchery fish. If I understand all of this correctly, we have been fighting for years to put state dollars into coastal hatcheries to produce fish that you now don't want us to be able to catch. And you, in fact, want to, it's hard for me because some of those fish, if I understood it all correctly, are going to probably bioproducts in Warren. And I represent them too, but it's hard for me to understand that we're putting thousands and thousands of dollars in fish hatcheries so that we can get cat food.
Senator Dukes, of course, we do want people to catch these hatchery fish. Indeed, if we can't figure out ways they can catch most of them, there's really no reason to run these hatcheries. We might as well close the doors if we can't solve that problem.
Chair, I would suggest that I don't think we have to wait for National Marine Fisheries to shut them down. I think we're going to do a really good job from the agency.
Please. I will remind the audience not to express itself with demonstrations.
Doug, last year the Coquille fishermen were also denied the opportunity to catch fin-clipped coho. And how do you explain the rationale of allowing a fin-clipped hatchery fish to intermingle with a wild fish, and how does that relate to the wild fish policy?
The wild fish policy doesn't set any specific standards for fisheries where wild and hatchery fish are intermingled, though clearly common sense tells us that in a case like this we're trying to protect the hatchery fish, and the wild fish, and that's why we mark the hatchery fish. So we can have fisheries where you keep the hatchery fish and you let the wild fish go so the fishery doesn't have as big an effect on the wild.
Notify local sport fishing groups that this was something you were considering doing?
Went through a fairly extensive public advisory committee, public meeting, and public review process in 1997 when the decision was made, Senator.
Did you notify local sport fishing groups that this was something you were considering, this public process was ongoing?
At the time that issue was under consideration, yes. There was a fairly wide mailing out to local groups and to concerned individuals that had